Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting, January 8th, 2020. Present tonight, we have Lou Perrin, member, William LePage, member, Steve Wetruba, clerk of the board, Richard Clark, vice chairman, myself, Daniel Edmiston, chairman, and Bill Scanlon, our planner. First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from December 11th. What is the board's pleasure? Anybody have a chance to read them? Read them already?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented for the Wednesday, December 11, 2019 meeting.
I have a proposal, I have a motion to accept the minutes of the December 11th meeting as written. Any seconds?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Need 2 copies?
I got one here.
All right. Item B, A&R plans. On the agenda, we don't have any listed. My understanding is that we do have one.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Tony Sicaro came in today, who's in the audience this evening, with an A&R plan for land up on Noble Street. And I told him that he could come tonight, but I didn't know if the board would accept the plan, because it came in today.
Yep.
And I think it's up to the board to decide whether you want to act on that A&R plan tonight, or whether you would prefer that he come back next week. I don't know if you have a policy that says information has to be submitted to the planning board by a certain date before it can come to the board at the next meeting. So I think it's...
You want to chime in on the open policy?
Well, as my understanding in terms of the open meeting laws, I think we're supposed to have an agenda posted 48 hours in advance of the meeting. The agenda as posted here indicates A&R plans none.
Mhm.
I think that might be at variance with the intent of the open meeting law to consider an A&R plan at this point.
Mhm.
So the plan has been accepted by the town right now, or we,
It came in today.
Receipt has been
I took it, yes,
Yep.
took it in.
and we have, refresh my memory, how many days do we have to act on it?
Excuse me?
How many days do we have to act on it?
21 days,
21.
yes,
So it falls well within our next meeting.
yes.
Does the planning board want to do that, or accept, we have the receipt of the plan, we can discuss it in
To
2
review
weeks? Or do you want, give us a chance to review?
Yeah.
Review.
All right.
Hi.
Okay, I came in Friday, it's closed, Monday, town hall is closed, Tuesday is closed, so, I couldn't submit the plan. All right, so, I did it this morning because I had no choice. For 4 days that I tried to go here, it's closed.
From what I'm hearing from the planning board is based on the open meeting laws, and then our chance to review before discussing, they like to put it off put up the formal discussion for the 2 weeks. So we're in receipt of the plan, we have 21 days to act. So what I'm hearing is everyone wants to discuss that then at our next meeting.
All right.
Does that work okay, or?
No, the only thing is I'm gonna be in vacation
Oh,
3 weeks on the next meeting, so. I may not have to be here, but I like to.
is a representative of your, that could be
Yeah,
here?
my engineer should be in any time.
I mean, for next time, for our next meeting, would there be one of your representatives that could be here
Yeah,
instead of you?
yeah.
If that works for you, that's what I'm hearing from the board. That's the way we like to
Just a
approach
minor
it.
thing, it's a small thing, so you can vote on today, it'll be good.
Yeah, again, based on our understanding of the open meeting laws, that we should have something 48 hours in advance to be posted up here on the agenda, and
I try.
I,
All right. So
it is,
I'll stick around anyway, so,
All right.
all right.
all right.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secure also wanted to talk about a previous item that he had submitted, an A&R plan up on Pierpont Estates for Lot 1R, which he had previously come to the board to talk about. And he was on the agenda for that last meeting, but nobody showed up, and then I took it off for tonight's meeting. I don't know whether you want to consider that as part of the Pierpont Estates discussion under C, or other business, old business, something like that.
Members, what do you guys think?
Well, we do have an agenda item, Pierpont Estates, so I think it's probably in order that we discuss whatever the old business is pertaining to Pierpont Estates. I think as you're characterizing it, this is something that's come before us in the
Yep.
past. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes.
All right, so Tony, you want to come up and talk about that Lot 1R? Pardon me? Well, we are kind of on the agenda. Right now, we're on item C, discussion status report of finishing construction of different developments, and Pierpont Estates is one of those. Just a heads up, we need to make a hard stop at about 7:14 so we can get our public meeting started at 7:15. So we might have to continue this the second part of the meeting.
I don't want to talk about this today.
You
I
don't?
wanna-
Oh, you don't want to talk about that today?
No, no, just, it was just that one that
Oh, I thought you wanted to bring something. Do you want to talk about this at the next meeting?
yeah.
All right. Solved.
Fixes that.
So you're electing to defer that issue until the next meeting then? So we're going to have both to consider at the next meeting, at least possibility of both to be considered at the next meeting? Thank you. All right, I guess we're on to Rocky Hill Estates.
He's going to talk about the same thing, so,
Which one?
that one there. Yeah.
We're excited not to do the same, because it just came in today.
Okay.
So we're going to put that on for the next
The next hearing, where's that?
one second. Okay, you didn't want to talk about this other day, right?
Okay.
Rocky Hill Estates, any updates on Rocky Hill?
No, I don't have any updates on it.
Piesta?
Before we leave Pierpont, Tony?
Yeah, I was just gonna
Tony?
say.
Hey, Tony, we did get an estimate in from Graves Engineering for
Okay. Yep.
the update of the construction costs. You have that in your
Yes.
binder. It's item C. So, we had asked Graves Engineering to inspect the condition of that subdivision and prepare an estimate for the cost to complete the work up there. And we received this from Jeff Walsh of Graves Engineering yesterday. And it shows that there's, the cost to complete that subdivision is $49,800. And he's itemized that in terms of different phases of work.
Yep.
So it's his professional engineering estimate, I think, is pretty sound. However, in asking the town treasurer today what the balance was that the town is holding as security for that project, we find that there was a $46,000 bond, of which $31,136.91 remains. There was a letter of credit for $100,000 from Hometown Bank, which has expired, so that letter of credit is no longer valid.
Can I correct you on that?
Yes, please.
That $100,000 is a letter of credit. It's not a letter of credit, it's a tri-party agreement. It's with Hills Financing. And it is about $19,000 with Hometown Bank.
Mm-hmm. So, that may be, but I'm just going with what the town treasurer had said, that
Yep.
that letter of credit had expired. So I think maybe we need to sort that out to find out if there's still a tri-party agreement with the bank and how much that's still valid for.
What date did that expire?
March 18th, 2018. I'm sorry, no, July 13th, 2018.
2018?
Yes,
19? Wow.
18.
And there was the, how much is that, 88,000? Reduce,
I think that should be
There's 100,000,
clarified
right?
before the next meeting,
It was
that-
reduced to 88.
Yeah, this is not right, that's a tri-party.
before we move forward.
But
Well,
the,
I think it was a letter of credit, but I could be wrong.
yeah, the letter of credit is, for the 19, that's for, the letter of credit is for the, was one for, was three different ones. One is for the $46,000 that was reduced to 31, and this was a cash bond that I put with the town.
Mm-hmm.
Is
That's
that what
cash.
items that C?
This one's a tri-party agreement,
It's under
and
C,
this
yeah.
is a letter of credit for about 19.
No, this is just saying that we're short $482.50, so we're asking you to provide that.
Pay.
$482.50. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Starts off with Breeze Engineering under tab
So,
C.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's some discrepancy here in terms of how much money the town is holding, and I'd like to get back to the town treasurer to see what's going on.
Certainly
Yeah,
so.
agreed. Be nice if we could have that squared away before next meeting, if possible.
Were you asking for a reduction?
Yes.
So, we're saying that the cost to complete is $49,800.
Right.
And then,
Total?
yes. And that if we don't have that much remaining, we'd like to
The bond is what, 31,136.91.
so we need.
It's
we need
deficient by about
additional money,
$17,000.
right, additional security to cover the cost.
Yeah, but that bond, it's three different bonds.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I just don't have that information in front of me.
Oh, okay, all right.
So we need to get back
Yeah,
to you on
the
that.
town, I have a 31,000 cash bond. I have 19,000 letter of credit. I
Okay.
have 100,000 tri-party agreement.
So we need further information, and I'm not sure, but perhaps you need to deal with the town treasurer to some extent in terms of clarification on these issues? I think you've got a full plate coming up at the next meeting.
The $100,000 tri-party agreement or letter of credit?
No, it's 100,000 for, around 100,000 for, is a tri-party agreement. It was the original one.
You have a new one? You have a new one. You have one that's current, that's not,
Then I have another one for 31,000, for about $20,000. That is a letter of credit with the hometown. And I have another one, 31,000, that is a cash bond that I put in the town. So it's three different bonds.
Three different bonds, okay.
To the chair, I mean, he needs to get this straightened out with the treasurer because it's conflicting
Right.
information. I mean,
Yeah, we don't know how much we can release if we don't know how much we
It
have.
would appear that what we have for information is at the very least incomplete.
Right.
and if you want the $100,000 to be considered, then that has to be brought up to date, because that's the one that our understanding is that it's expired in 2018.
Maybe the one that expired is the letter of credit.
I can't tell you,
Yeah, I
that's your
don't-
finances, that's your,
You have all the information.
At this point, we
in
just
the office,
let the
maybe.
town treasurer sort it out.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to ask the town treasurer to sort it out, make sure that all of the information we have is up to date before we can take any action.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll come in, you're not in, Bill, tomorrow?
No, I'll be in Friday, but I have a meeting Friday, so you could talk to the town treasurer.
Okay.
On your
all right.
own.
I'll see him tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bill, I'm looking through my binder. I don't have the notices for the public meeting that I can read.
Okay.
Do you have copies of those, or?
I believe so. We already read the notice for Lions Estates at the last meeting. and they have asked for a continuation tonight.
Okay.
So you don't need to read the hearing notice again, but you might want to read the request for the continuance, which is on tab D.
I do have in tab D. All right, so it's 7:16. We're going to open the public meeting. I have a request for a continuance.
It's in the paragraph that begins, "I had an opportunity."
Yep. All right, we've received an email. I had an opportunity to speak with Jeff Walsh on Friday, and he told me that his letter for peer review of the plan for Lyons Estate subdivision had not yet been completed, but was close to being done. We both agreed that it would be best if we kindly asked for a continuation of the public hearing that was supposed to be on January 8th to the next scheduled planning board meeting. We also agreed it would be best if, once the letter is complete, that my engineers can respond and speak directly to him regarding any questions that arise within the scope of the letter, along with any questions that planning board members might have before we go to a definitive public hearing and vote. All right, so we're continuing that until next meeting? Is that how I'm
Yes.
understanding that?
Yes, what time would you like to set it for?
7:15.
Okay. Going back to some of the items above, we can't take any comments from the public at this time.
We have to close the public meeting.
We've already continued the hearing,
Okay.
so we can't really take any comments without the applicant hearing. I know. Sure. Yeah, it'd be better if you put it in writing, but I could talk to you about it, sure. Okay,
Do have comments from the audience. Would it be appropriate at that point? to
when
hear
we
those
have the
concerns?
actual hearing, right?
Okay, when we have the hearing, all right.
Should the chief submit something in writing to you on his
That
concerns?
would be, yes, I think that would be appropriate. Excuse me? Oh, it was? Okay. I don't know if I saw it, but I'll look for it.
All right, so I'm closing the public hearing
Just
for Lyons
continue.
Estates at,
No, continue.
Just continuing.
just continuing at 7:18. Returning back to our regularly scheduled program here, item number C. Rocky Hill, you said there was no updates?
Correct.
Piastre Road, anything?
No.
Country View Estates?
Yes, I talked to the developer, Daniel Haney, today. Do you recall you'd authorized a letter to go to Mr. Haney requesting that he either come before the board to discuss his plans for fixing the problem with sewer pump station at the end of Eisenhower. And so that letter had some effect. He did get back to us. I talked to him today. He said he'd be willing to come in and talk to town officials about that problem. He has questions about what's actually the problem, which he said he built it according to town standards, and that he thinks maybe some of the standards changed after we put it in, so that he's not sure whether he's responsible for those kinds of improvements. The problem seems to be caused by a change in grade in that part of the development, because he wanted to get an additional lot in. So the sewer superintendent is very concerned about the condition of that pump station. So I thought that we should sit down with Mr. Haney first to talk to him about the problem and see what he's willing to do.
Will that sit down be at one of our formal meeters?
I
Has to
think
be,
it's going
right?
to be at just a town hall staff meeting with the town
Okay.
administrator, myself, the sewer superintendent.
Do you have that scheduled yet?
Not yet. He said he's away on vacation next week, but I'm hoping to do it Tuesday the following week. But I'll try to confirm that with town hall staff.
Okay, so that would theoretically be the 21st.
That would be prior to our next scheduled meeting, so hopefully we'd have some results.
So hopefully we'll know by then.
Just point of information, how far back does that development date?
2001, I think.
Oh, coming up on a 20th
I
anniversary
think so,
next year.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to circle back to Rocky Hill if we can.
Sure.
Is it possible to send a letter to the developer to come in for the next meeting to give us an update or what their plan is to move forward in that subdivision?
Sure,
Yep.
yeah, if it's
I
at
don't
the
see why
board's
not.
pleasure. If you'd like to, I can certainly prepare a letter, have them.
And verify if that new road that they're putting in is linked to Eagle Drive and Rocky Hill Estates? Can we
Okay.
get that verified as well?
Sure. So, say that again for me, Chris?
So the, I don't know the name of the new road. I don't know if anybody knows the name of the new road they put in. But I want to see if it's linked or in the same plan as the Rocky Hill Estates and Eagle Drive. I want to see if it's in one of the phases.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I can certainly review the history of that subdivision and see
Please.
what was approved when and what was approved.
To try to invite him for our next meeting?
That would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything with Tobin Farm Estates?
No.
Agenda item D, final inspections associated with site plans.
I guess it's not a final inspection, but there has been an issue with the AMP Solar project on West Dudley Road. There's been some runoff onto Mr. Mungin's lot, who abuts the project below the hill where that project sits.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a site walk out there today with Jeff Walsh, Lawrence, I forget his last name, from pardon? Thank you. And Nelson was there, and myself. And so we walked both the solar site and then sort of down the hill. And the homeowner is complaining about some serious erosion in the driveway from a great deal of increased runoff, and he had some photos to show sort of a torrent of water rushing through there. And with Jeff there, we were trying to get a handle on what might be causing that increased runoff. And it doesn't really appear to be coming off of the hill from the solar field itself. But there may have been some changes to the groundwater as a result of that project, which may be coming below the surface. He had, Mr. Mungin has a spring on his property, and it could be that there's just increased flow coming into the spring, which is causing the problem. So, so the applicant was going to, Mr. Cook was going to have his engineers prepare a remediation plan, and then have Jeff Walsh review it, and then notify the applicant that we have, or not the applicant, the homeowner, that we have a plan. We'd like to sit down and talk to him about what some of these options might be.
Who's preparing the plan?
The engineer for AMP Solar, I don't know his name,
Okay.
but Mr. Cook was going to go back to his engineering team and have them prepare the plan. It may be that work would have to be done on Mr. Mungin's property in order to solve the problem. And he, in the past, has said he doesn't want any work done on his property. So I don't know where that would leave if he's not willing to have, some structures or some extra drainage put in. Then I
Okay.
don't know if we could deal with it. But the AMP Solar folks seem very cooperative, willing to find a solution to this. So they've already done a number of things up there. But the problem still hasn't been solved, so we're still trying to get a handle on it.
Okay. The 8 o'clock agenda item, is that a part of a public hearing or not?
No.
No.
So we
Since
can
we're
move
ahead
that
of
up.
schedule, we can jump to that real quick, right?
Yes.
I don't think he's here.
Is he here?
No.
I think he's here. Conrad Allen or
No.
representative? No?
Did you talk to him? Did he want to be here, or?
Yes, I did tell him he does plan on coming. He wants,
So he might be showing up later.
he did submit some information, which is in your binder, regarding the zoning and the easements that he has to access that lot. So I'll let him describe that when he comes in. But since he's not here yet, I think we should, wait until he shows up.
Then you want to slip down into unfinished business, planner's plate? Do we have anything there to discuss?
A couple of things. Had a meeting today on the town's community development block grant program. That's being administered by the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. There are two projects, two planning studies, which are being funded through that work. One is an Americans with Disabilities Act self-evaluation and transition plan of town buildings and parks to identify what deficiencies exist for handicapped accessibility. So that project will be going out to bid soon. Town will be selecting a firm that does that kind of work, and they'll submit a report probably late summer with their findings, and that will identify all the work the town needs to complete to make all of its buildings accessible. And then the town will be able to knock those off over time as funding and grants become available. The other project is an engineering planning study for the Brandon, Cherico area for water, sewer, drainage, road improvements. There's about 28,000 linear feet of roadway in this area. It's a target area that the town has identified. So again, the town will be going out to bid to hire an engineering firm to prepare, to identify all the deficiencies of the infrastructure and identify priorities for improvements. So they'll be working with town staff, the highway superintendent, the water and sewer people, to identify all those improvements. And they'll be doing a lot of field work, testing of existing facilities, things of that sort. I mentioned at the last meeting, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program workshop is taking place tomorrow. I misspoke at the last meeting. Apparently that's by invitation only. So, Mr. Chairman, you were invited as chairman of the board.
For tomorrow?
Pardon?
For tomorrow I
For
was?
tomorrow. Friday, excuse me.
All right.
It's a Friday workshop. So far, we have about 22 people confirmed to attend that meeting. And that's also being run by the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission people. And that will identify the areas where the town is vulnerable to issues like climate change and natural disasters, things of that sort. So that will qualify the town to apply for other funding for climate resiliency kinds of improvements. So it's a very interesting project, and there'll be a final report which will come out of that probably in a couple of months.
Okay.
I have advertised a public hearing for the next meeting
Yes.
for the enterprise car rental site for where there are Amazon delivery vehicles parked. The building commissioner had required the applicant to obtain site plan approval.
Yep.
For that use. So the applicant hired Jason Dubois from DC Engineering to prepare that plan. And that came in today, although I'd already advertised it in anticipation of that coming in because the building commissioner was very concerned that that was going on without a formal approval. So,
Yep.
However, when the plan came in today, it was much different than what I was expecting. The parking area falls into a residential zone where the old golf course used to be. And it also includes self-storage units.
We haven't seen this one yet, have we?
No,
No.
no. So there's some questions about whether the plan as drawn is permitted. So he's going to have to talk to the building commissioner about that to see whether he needs to withdraw that plan and revise it according to just show the lot in the business district, in which case we may or may not have that hearing next meeting. I'm not sure where that's going to go yet, but I wanted to let you know there's some question about whether that's actually permitted the way it's drawn.
Okay. That means we could have 2 public hearings next month, or next meeting.
Yes.
Anything else, planner's plate?
Nope.
Any comments from planning board?
Happy New Year.
You basically have to wait till 7:40 for the meeting. I mean, that's the way
Yes.
it's advertised.
Right, it is.
So the only other item on the agenda right now is the comments from the audience. Should we take comments from the audience before?
Good.
Any comments from the audience about anything discussed tonight or anything else? None?
You do have a couple of invoices, you'd like to act on those?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think some members of the audience have left us. I suspect it was because they were here for one of the issues that's on the agenda, and I believe it may have pertained to Lyons Estate. I'm not exactly sure. But I think it's frustrating to some extent for people in the public, people who are residents, who come to a meeting anticipating that an issue is going to be dealt with and find out that it's been continued to the next meeting. And I think at least one of the gentlemen that I saw here was at our last meeting and left very early when he realized that the issue was not to be discussed. I know that there are reasons why these things are continued, but it is an inconvenience, and we certainly do want to encourage the public to participate and to be involved in everything. So it's unfortunate that we can't get some of the principals to adhere to the schedule as we think they have agreed to it. That's-
I understand. I think it was the applicant's call. He just didn't feel like it would be productive to have the hearing without having the engineering report completed. So he felt in order to be more productive, it would be better to have.
Right. Unfortunately, I think some of the folks who have left are not here to, you know, hear your explanation of that, and they have benefited from that, but unfortunately, the frustration, I think, is mounting on that one issue at least.
How many times can we continue before we have to? That was a second continuation of the project, correct?
Correct. Mr. Allen just walked in. I don't know if you want to
Jump up to that.
do that in 10 minutes, or you want to,
We've got 12 minutes theoretically.
okay. Conrad?
Pass those over.
What a pleasant surprise. Good evening, Happy New Year.
Here.
So we have a 7:40 public hearing scheduled, so you have a couple minutes. If you want, we can
Sure.
postpone your part of it and then come back after the hearing if necessary.
Okay. Did everybody get a copy of the,
It's in their binder. I don't know if they've had a chance to look at it yet.
It's,
I didn't get it until I came in
E.
today,
oh, what is it?
Tab E.
Oh, that's right, you weren't in.
It's
Monday
under
or
E.
Tuesday.
Right.
So maybe if you want to give them a few minutes to look at it, and then you could, Chairman, you want to look this over first, or
The letter, or?
is, yes. We'll just go right to an explanation from Mr. Allen.
You know, if you just give us a couple seconds to take a look
Of
through this, it'd be
course.
appreciated.
Yeah, no problem.
You guys ready for a verbal?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you. When I last left, there were two questions, as I understood it. One was about the zoning, and one was about the access. As I left last October, you were going to talk with town council about that, but I guess you never did ask.
I don't recall having any feedback from town council, nothing that I've seen.
Well, you didn't ask.
We didn't ask?
No, I checked with the
We wanted
town.
more information from the applicant before we forwarded that.
Okay.
We didn't want town council to review something in a vacuum, so you might decide tonight after seeing this information that that's something town council could look at.
So it has been my experience in the town of Dudley that we have built on paper streets.
Yep.
I can give you several examples if you want. I've also seen where the 200 feet for every 2 units has not been applied, as recently as the apartments that Valgo built on Warsaw Ave. There wasn't 200 feet for every 2 units.
You're
They
talking
took-
frontage.
Yes, I am. They took the 2.1 acres divided by 10,000 square feet and came up with 30 apartments. So basically, what I'm doing is using Spruce Street as a driveway to the Spruce Street Estates. And again, it is a paper street. The zoning is residential 10, which allows 2 units per 10,000 square feet. 6,000 square feet for each additional unit. I was proposing duplexes so that I didn't have to have all this stuff that the fire department wants. When you have 3 units or more hooked up together. Sprinkler systems and all of that.
And if I remember correctly, Spruce Street is not going through to Mill Street.
That's correct.
So it's stopping just at the end of your
That's
shown
correct.
lot.
That's correct.
And will there be a cul-de-sac there?
No, it'll
No.
be, there's a design that I brought before the fire department for the turnaround, which was okayed by the chief. I'm still waiting to get that in writing. No, they were asking about the turnaround for the fire trucks. And I had brought this to, right. Well, the planning board wants it in writing, that this turnaround's okay. That's what you asked, isn't it? Did you want to make sure the fire department was
Still in
online?
preliminary plans anyway, so.
Right, so it
Well,
doesn't really make
these are
much sense
just
for,
Yeah.
Conceptual plans, the engineer
Yeah,
will draw
we-
them.
I don't know if we need that in writing right now, Chief. It's just,
No.
we're just seeing it a couple times, we're looking for a cul-de-sac at the end. So question just came up if it was gonna be a cul-de-sac back there, if you
Well,
okay
it's
with
not a
backing everything
cul-de-sac,
down.
it's a T.
Right.
Right, exactly.
So I guess I have a question about frontage, and maybe Nelson, you can help me out. It says 2-family homes are allowed in residential 10 by right, and there's a minimum frontage is 100 feet for a 2-family home. So is it 100 feet for the lot, and he's gonna put, say, 6 units is 100 feet what's required, or does he need something else? I don't,
Well, this is not on a public street, it's just a big parcel of land that will be maintained by the association.
right.
So it's very, very similar to Wysocki Drive, to Dudley Heights. I mean, all of those are maintained by the association. They're not on a public street, they have public access.
What I've always experienced, and I'm not saying
Oh.
I didn't do it in Dudley in the past, a paper road you cannot use as frontage as far as I know. That's what I've
No, the paper road, the access is from
Green Street.
Green Street.
Where's the frontage?
The driveway is off of Green Street.
What's the frontage?
The driveway is, it's a driveway, it's off of Green Street.
Or where's the frontage off Green Street?
There's no
That's
public,
what I'm saying, there is no frontage.
no, there's just a big parcel of land, 71,000 square feet.
Right, so I always thought you had to have frontage.
Well, again, I just cited 2 examples that don't have
Just
frontage.
'cause people did things wrong in the past, don't mean they wrong.
Well, no, this is, this is the
I thought that was one of
bylaws.
the questions we had for the
They
attorney.
haven't
Yeah.
changed the bylaws on Res
I'm
10,
getting
Nelson.
flashbacks now.
Yes.
I'm looking at this letter, this cover letter here, this is from you, Mr. Allen, and I'm noticing here, it's referencing Mr. Burlingame, and since he's
Yeah,
here this
for
evening.
zoning. I went to him for zoning.
Yeah, and I just want to read a quote from this. I spoke with Nelson Burlingame to verify the zoning. So all you're saying is that you went to him and you said, what is that area zone, correct?
Res 10, right.
Okay, all right.
That's all I
It
asked
goes
him.
on to say, I own 64,827 square feet on Spruce Street. According to zoning, I am able to build 6 two-family units. But doesn't the zoning require frontage for each one of those units? See, that's where I'm,
If it's on a public street.
Hey, we're gonna have to take a quick break. We do have a public meeting at 7:40. We are there. So I'd like to,
Dan, here's the public. hearing notice.
thanks for your patience there, Conrad, appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
So we'll call it 7:42. Open the public hearing. I'll read the public hearing legal notice. In accordance with the provisions of Section 5.04, Site Plan Review of the Dudley zoning bylaw, the Dudley Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020, at 7:40 PM in the Dudley Municipal Complex, Room 321 Alpha, DMC Veterans Memorial Hall, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, Mass. 01571, on the application of JD&D Construction Incorporated, 114 Upper Gore Road, Webster, Mass., for a major site plan review to construct a 6,600-square-foot building with associated parking and utilities for contractor yard at 24 Oxford Ave, Dudley, Mass. The site plan was prepared by Jalbert Engineering Incorporated, 54 Main Street, Sturbridge, Mass., dated January 29th, 2018. The property contains 32,233 square feet, is located on the easterly side of Oxford Road and a southerly of School Court, is in a light industry 43 zoning district, and is identified as Assessor's Map 111, Parcel 30. Copies of the plan and application are on file in the Dudley Planning Board office, at the Town Clerk's office, both of which are located in the Dudley Municipal Complex, 71 West Main Street, Dudley, and may be inspected during regular working hours. The Planning Board will receive public input at the public hearing. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. If you wish to comment but are unable to attend, please submit written comments to the Planning Board office before 4:30 PM on January 7th, 2020. Signed by me, Dudley Chairman, Dudley Planning Board. Did we get any written comments at all?
We got a peer review report from Graves Engineering. It's-
Gentlemen, want to come up and present first?
The Graves report is in Appendix D of your binder.
D?
D, right after the letter from Lyons.
Spruce Street. I'm all over the place here tonight.
just like,
Before I start, you want to give you some plans to look at?
That would be wonderful.
See that here. D.
Documents entitled. Excellent.
Hi, Lenny.
I want to see some details, if you don't mind.
Good evening, I'm Leonard Jalbert from Jalbert Engineering in Sturbridge. We're here to present a plan for 24 Oxford Avenue. We, just prior to this meeting here, we went to the Water and Sewer Commissioners, which they approved the water and sewer connections there for the site itself. And what happened is that we didn't know where they wanted the water and sewer connections actually to take place. They decided tonight that they would have them off of the side near School Street and Oxford Ave. We wouldn't be crossing the street on Oxford Ave, so it's not depicted on the plans here as far as the actual location. That would be done after tonight's meeting for them.
So you have to open the street up eventually to make those
Please?
connections? You have to open the street up to make those connections? No.
No,
No, all right.
no.
All right.
If we cross the street, we'd have to, but right now, it's on the inside, we don't have to open the street.
Excellent.
Okay, where we're at,
Understand clearly that the water and sewer, you're not going into the street at all?
that is correct. The- what we're doing here is we're constructing a single-story building with an office on the northerly end. The building will actually be 55 feet by 120, which is 6,600 square feet. The building itself, because of the area and the nature of it, will be serviced by a fire suppression system on the site and connected to the public water. The discharge of the building itself, because of the services inside, will be actually drained from the building going into the sewer separator, which is outside the building adjacent to Chestnut Street. That there will be going into a sewer separator there to the infiltrators, then to the storage area inside, which is all depicted in the stormwater management report for the site itself. The actual site is going to be used basically for construction purposes, for storage of their construction equipment and materials within the building. They do not anticipate any real traffic per se, in that the office itself is only located on one end of the building, which is adjacent to Oxford Avenue, and the lighting on the site itself is strictly off of the building itself, which is to get in the face of the building, which faces Chestnut Street. We anticipate maybe there would be 2 to 5 cars per day on the site maximum. The spaces that we allowed on the site was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regular spaces, and then eight regular, and then 1 handicap space for the site itself. The grading of the site, basically, I don't know if any of you've gone to the site, but basically, it has been graded in its entirety from School Street to Chestnut Street already because of this demolishing of all the buildings that were there. So, if you go and see what's there, it's actually been stripped of the building and everything that was there. So, what you see right now basically is the existing grade for finish for the building itself. The building garage and everything where the storage will be elevation right there, which is at 96, which is basically the grade within the site itself already. So from what's being done now to what will be done later is actually going to have no grade changes to speak of. What you see is what you're getting. The drainage itself goes in a sheet flow basis to the 2 catch basins, and then the oil separator, from the oil separator into the charging system, and then from that there's an overflow which is on the southwesterly corner of the property, which will be, in the event that this was an extra storm, or the runoff would go into that area. The provisions for runoff from the overflow detention area, we didn't put any provisions running off of it. The chances are, if anything happened, it would be just flow from there back into the lot, but that's highly unlikely. We did the calculations for the 2, 10, and 100-year storms, and it's not going to happen. It's very small. thing is that we did on Chestnut Street for any runoff, just to catch anything that went from the detention basin, a retention basin over, we put a catch basin in on Chestnut Street. That catch basin would be running into the storm scepter and then back into the chambers here, so it'd be all contained within the property itself. The vegetation basically on the property would be conforming to the town, where we got trees and everything that are lined up along Chestnut Street, and we got vegetation along Oxford Avenue in that area, and then the rest of it, just in the paved area would be basically from the limit of the building to Chestnut Street, and the rest of it, it would be just plain gravel.
Yep.
Okay? Basically, that's it. What happens, we received a letter from Graves Engineering today or this afternoon relative to some of their concerns on the property itself. What we're really doing is that we've got, like, they're talking about the need for the driveways and everything. What it is I have photos showing the driveways in the area of the property. Here we are right here. This basically, this is Chestnut Street extension right here. This is Oxford Ave, and this is South Street. What it is, there's one driveway over here on this side of the house. There's one over here, there's one right here, and basically one over here, and right there. And then this is where the traffic would be coming off of this area here.
Dan, can I get a better look at that?
You sure can. Yeah, makes it too easy.
The frontage actually goes from School Street here right to Chestnut here. It's right, this is the project that we're talking about. Okay, there's the driveways, which are basically here, here, there. That's it. So this here's Chestnut Street on that side.
So before I start getting to our questions, I was gonna ask if anybody in the audience.
Okay.
All right.
This one.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak relevant to this project? Going once? No audience comments? You don't have any comments from the audience? Do you have a couple of written?
Well, you know, no, I didn't get any.
Didn't get anything
comments.
written. So it is okay if we close the public hearing and
No.
we have to go through?
Right.
Okay.
We should discuss the Graves Engineering report. If you want, I can go through their comments.
I know that the planning board has some questions lined up.
Okay.
It seems also that, just from what my review earlier today, that there are a number of waivers that you're being asked for. Are the waivers being asked for the site at all?
The letter that I received today, I haven't acted on it, I haven't had a chance to, I read it basically just before I came here.
Yep.
Okay,
Right.
so,
Well, first, let's just be a little bit clear what we're doing here tonight. This is, what are we doing?
Yes, well, the use is permitted in the district.
Yep.
So it's not a discretionary review on your part.
But we're
It does
short on
require-
square footage of the site.
Excuse me?
Isn't the square footage of the site short? Are we like at
Yes,
32?
he does have a variance that the Board of Appeals granted for lot size and setbacks.
Okay.
I spoke with Mr. Ochoki about getting that variance recorded. Have you had a chance to?
Yeah, the deeds, yeah, I submitted that to Jen. I gave her the packet, she's supposed to give it to you. Basically, it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot, So, you know, we don't abide by the square footage requirements because we're grandfathered in with the pre-existing non-conforming lot. You know, and then also, keep in mind that pre-existing lumber yard took up, you know, I believe it was 33,000 square feet of the lot. So this one is significantly smaller than what was there originally.
Well, the ZBA did grant a variance, though, so they do have
Right, so that's-
permission to,
Yeah, we got variance, we got.
but that has to be recorded in order to be valid, and it hadn't been recorded yet, so
Okay.
So the variances were allowed?
they were.
Yeah,
There was
Chairman, I'm
a,
on the zoning board, it was approved.
Okay.
the.
Does that approval also include, isn't there some setback variances that we're looking for?
Correct. There was actually, the decision was actually on February, July 17th for the zoning board of appeals, and they allowed the 15-foot setback on the street of Oxford Avenue and the 10-foot setback off of South Street, which was part of it, and where the building was located, they accepted that at the decision.
All right, excellent. So now we got those two big issues squared away. Do we want to start getting into the Graves report?
Sure. Sorry, I just lost it. So this just came in today, so it's understandable that
Yep.
Mr. Jobert hasn't had a chance to really digest it or respond to it yet. So the zoning bylaw comments include, 1, the project does not meet the requirements for frontage, building setbacks, and maximum lot coverage, but we just spoke about the variances, so that takes care of number 1. 2, proposed spot elevations need to be shown on the plans to determine if the accessible parking space, its aisle, and the accessible route to the building entrance comply with the Mass Architectural Access Board grading requirements. So we'll need to show that on the revised plan.
So this building will be used by customers to visit you guys? All right.
Customers and employees.
3, Graves has no issue with the plan's use of 1-foot topo contours. The plan needs to show the locations of driveways within 200 feet of the site, so we'll need to come back and show those. 5, the locations of proposed signs, if any, need to be shown on the plans. Graves understands that the planning board or building inspector will review any business sign applications. So just show the locations of the signs for now. 6, the size and location of the existing and proposed utilities need to be shown on the plans. Sheet 3 shows the proposed water and sewer services truncating at the front property line. Water and sewer locations, sizes, etc. on Oxford Avenue are missing from the plans. The plans don't identify the anticipated location of the electric service. So I understand earlier this evening that they got permission from the Water and Sewer Commission for their water and sewer connections. So they should show those on the revised plans.
Yep.
And then also show the electric service. 7, I think, is something that that hasn't been looked at yet, and that is stormwater calculations need to be submitted to show compliance with Mass DEP standards. So you'll need to come up with some.
They were submitted previously. I don't know why Graves does not have the calculations.
Well, they only got what was submitted to them, so if there's other calculations, they need to go up to Graves.
Okay?
Money, was it included on that packet right there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so honestly, I think Graves has it, because the same copy that I gave to you was about 6 of them. I brought one over to Graves, so I don't know if you can see it, but it's part of that 17 binder.
You just resubmit it with the revised plan,
Yeah, I guess, yeah,
highlight it.
I revised it, yeah. Full warrant.
There's a similar comment on number 9, hydrology computations and supporting documentation need to be submitted to demonstrate compliance with DEP stormwater standards. So apparently they didn't get the drainage and drainage calculations in order to do their analysis.
The water department also previously brought that up, and Mr. Jalbert here explained it to them regarding the drainage and the runoff and the oil water separator, and they didn't have an issue there, so it just kind of backs up, you know, that they saw it on the drawings, they reviewed it.
Backing up to number 8, Graves understands that the consultant to the Dudley Water and Sewer Commissioners will review the application for compliance with the groundwater protection district requirements. So you had a special permit hearing tonight. Was there any action taken by the Water and Sewer Commission?
Yeah, they granted us.
They granted the special permit?
Special permit, yeah.
So they were before them because they had exceeded the impervious surface of 15%, which is the maximum that's allowed without a
That's why
special
only
permit.
half the lot is paved, I'm assuming, right? That's why only half the lot is paved, is because of the impervious surface?
Question for them.
What?
There's only a portion of the lot that's actually paved. The other portion to the south,
No, the only area that is being paved is in front of the building and access to Chestnut Street. The rest of it will be just a gravelled surface.
correct, and I'm assuming that gravel was left because of the impervious surface. You wanted to keep that down.
I don't think that has anything to do with it, right, Lenny?
The what?
We're not paving half of it just because we don't want to spend the money to pave it, not because there's a reason that we're not paving it, correct?
No, there's no reason, other than the fact that they're not paving it, period. The only thing
just-
that would be there would be construction equipment and stuff like that.
Obviously, I don't think that, obviously, this is under the jurisdiction of the Dudley Water and Sewer Commissions, and possibly, do you have to go through the Concom for anything?
No.
All right. I was just kind of surprised when I saw that there's only half the area is paved and we're in the aquifer or the water protection district. Usually you would have all the pavement would be going towards some kind of a,
All the paving plus the gravelled surfaces and everything, if
what I'm trying to say, then I guess there's nothing stopping you guys from parking trucks on the gravel, and the trucks could leak and then theoretically get into the groundwater. So that's usually why you would have paving over the whole entire area, so anything would get captured on the asphalt and theoretically taken to the separator. And that's not the case here. So are you guys planning on parking trucks in the gravel area? I know there's a dumpster back there, isn't there? So there will be traffic back there. So that was one question I had, but I don't know if that's really in our jurisdiction. So it seems like most of the items from Graves Engineering have been addressed. Those that haven't, either the submittals were made and misplaced or something happened there, and there's gonna be a couple of plan revisions needed just based on the Graves
Yes, I think
comments.
they'll need to address all these concerns, make sure that every item that Graves has identified here is satisfied.
Okay. How about questions from the planning board? You guys have anything?
I mean, the point you just brought up is, I didn't even think about that with equipment being parked on the gravelled area and oil leaking. I mean,
Right.
Should that not be reviewed?
I don't know if that's in our, is that in our purview here to comment on
Yes, I
that?
think we could ask Graves to look at that question, and if they felt that it was necessary, that we could have them revise the plans to do that.
Yep.
That would probably change their drainage calculations, though, if there's more stormwater flowing into the basins.
And is stormwater from the buildings, from the roof being captured, or just from the runoff of those?
there's a 6-inch perimeter drain around the building itself, and that is connected to the stormwater separator, which is in the front.
And you're draining the roof by gutters and downspouts? And that's being
Yes.
treated as well?
Right. There's a 6-inch line going around the whole building.
Okay, I see what you're saying, okay.
If you, if you look at it shown on sheet 4 of 6, it shows the drainage around the building, plus it's going right directly into the storm separator.
What's the planned height of the building? You said 1 story, but what's the height?
Is what now?
The height of the building?
The height of the building is single story. It's,
It's a high bay warehouse, it could be 35 feet, right?
it would be, total height of the building would be roughly, the inside to the bottom of the eaves is 13 foot 7 inches.
13.7. Is there a question about sidewalks at all, or?
Sidewalks, so in front of the building is all asphalt sidewalks?
Yes, and basically on Oxford Avenue, there's a sidewalk on Oxford Avenue in front of the building. Chestnut Street, there's no sidewalk, and School Court, there's no sidewalk.
So when you're gonna tie into the water and sewer, are those connections under the sidewalks, or are they after the sidewalks?
They're on our lot.
They're stubbed
They're
in.
on the lot?
They're actually,
Corner of our lot, there's an old
they're
fire
10 foot inside the lot itself.
Stubbed in.
Okay.
If that works.
What do you mean if it works?
Well, this is a pre-existing fire hydrant, we spoke to the water department, they don't, they need to make sure that they can tie in the after place and things, but there's basically 2 locations, one within our lot and then one at the street in front of it. But they don't wanna tie into that one because they've replaced a lot of lines on it already.
So what if the one with the hydrant doesn't work? I know, you just said they don't want you to tie into the other one.
Well, because they replaced like 5 lines on it, it's an old line. So, I mean, I guess, you know, hypothetically, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out, you know?
I was just wondering what the backup plan was.
Is there any chance at all that you could go into Oxford Ave to tie in water sewer? Those other ones don't work.
Yeah, no, they said that we can't, we just have to go to the other side of the street.
Okay. So Chestnut Street extension right now is not paved.
There is no extension right now.
There is none, right?
School court that's not there, or Chestnut, there is a street there, it's either
School court is
School court.
paved.
Yeah,
School
court's
court's
there,
on one
Chestnut.
side, and then it's showing Chestnut Street extension.
No, and we're trying to buy it off back from the town, because I guess the town owns it, the right of way.
To the paper street.
Yes, it's paper street.
I've emailed multiple times and coming to the office and I never get a response.
Yeah, so the Chestnut Street extension is basically a paper street, there's just nothing there. And it's bordering basically on the site.
So,
So they're using that then as a driveway into the site and to
so they
the,
can use Chestnut Street extension as a driveway.
correct.
Do you plan on paving it? Because right now it's not showing any pavement.
I thought it did show paving. I thought it did show paving. I thought the only my understanding was Chestnut Street is being paved, and then this paved parking area, and everything basically to the south over
Exactly.
here is gonna be the
But here
gravel.
it's not paved.
No.
And they don't own it. So are they gonna,
Well, it's
paved.
similar to what Mr. Allen is doing. There's a paper street there. So he's using it as a driveway. It's be his responsibility to develop that. And it's the same thing here, is using the public or the paper street as a driveway, so to say. Part of the project would be to
the
pave that.
difference is Mr. Allen owns the paper street.
No. You own the paper street?
He does, yes.
They
Okay,
do
I
not-
stand corrected.
They do not.
Who does?
All right, the town owns the
Town
paper
does.
street.
So,
Is that an issue?
I'm sorry?
The town owns the paper street, this Chestnut Street extension.
Right. So they need,
And the applicant is planning on paving that.
I think, should get permission from the selectmen in order to do that.
So it seems like there's a question to the Board of Selectmen about the use of the paper street. I mean,
Definitely understand, yeah, like I said, I mean, that's never been brought up to us, I mean, we kind of, you know, no one said anything, but we were trying to buy it off the town, you
Yep.
know, and whatever process we gotta do to get permission, we're more than willing to do that, so.
my concern is if they don't wanna pave it, we're gonna have people enter a business on a dirt road into a paved parking lot? It just doesn't
With
make any sense to me.
Excuse me, with the stormwater calculations, we put a catch basin within Chestnut Street and drained it back into the oil separator.
Any issues
I
pertaining to this?
agree.
The liability
I
would
see
be
a
go
catch
to the
basin in
town,
Chestnut
wouldn't
Street extension, but if you don't pave it, that catch basin is useless.
Yeah, well, we're gonna pave that.
Well, he wants to pave the access from Oxford Ave into his site.
it? Right.
But you don't have permission yet.
Exactly.
No.
oh, so we can make our approval theoretically contingent on getting permission from the Board of Selectmen to do what they're proposing. But that's a good point. I mean, it makes no sense to keep that as dirt.
Who does he need to approach? Like he mentioned 3 times about purchasing that from the town, but he's not getting a response.
Well, I mean, I think the selectmen
At
would
the
be the road
selectmen,
commissioners in town.
I mean, you guys switched the commissioner halfway through, I mean, honestly, I've been trying to buy this for like, we've, well, my father's been trying to buy this for a while now, but he said our lawyer's working on it.
Oh, you have this one?
Obviously, the highway super would have an input into the,
Right.
the, you know,
Town administrator,
construction
everybody would,
standards.
yeah.
But I think the town itself.
So if we get
selectmen-
lucky, someone will be watching the tape of this,
Well,
and then they can start the process.
exactly, well, so that's another thing I was gonna ask is, in the meantime, maybe to just get the ball rolling, we can ask for permission prior to buying it, because I'm assuming it's gonna take months and months to finally be able to purchase it regarding documentation, all that. So maybe we ask for approval from you guys first, and then if we want, we can buy it back, and you guys can give us credit for paving it.
No comment.
So what kind of equipment's gonna be going in and out of there? Any heavy equipment?
I mean, honestly, yeah, if we gotta move our lull, you know, the occasional Ramco 18-wheeler come and pick up our equipment and get it out of there, but to be honest with you, I mean, depends on the time of the year, sometimes we'll have a, you know, decently full lot, and then sometimes you won't even see one piece of equipment there, depending on how busy we are.
Now, there's equipment on the lot right now. It's being used. So the use will intensify once you move in here.
build a bigger shop, you know? So for right now, I mean, we have what we need.
Okay.
I noticed here the sidewalks are asphalt, so if they continue the road, I think that, the apron should be done in concrete sidewalks to disperse the load versus asphalt. We have concrete on the other side. There's asphalt there, but, you're gonna start bringing in heavy equipment. I think that apron, which has to be ADA compliant, because it is a sidewalk,
Yeah, just the entrance?
it's just the entrance should be done in concrete.
Yeah, 4,000.
I just think for the strength, because of the different types of pieces of equipment you're coming with. No.
And then the hours of operation, once you're up and running, are they gonna be different than existing? Hours of operation, once the building's up and running, they gonna be different than what's on the site right now?
I mean, Monday through Friday, I mean, 7 AM to 6 AM to, 5, 6, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm assuming that there'll be any noise complaints from the neighbors, that they'd be here right now to say something. We haven't heard anything.
Honestly, that whole street's full of businesses, everywhere you look, it's all businesses, and, you got Ramco down the street, I mean, it's noisy all day anyways over there,
A lot of heavy traffic.
Perfect spot for a contractor yard.
The only neighbor response we had at the zoning meeting, she had a concern about the front setback, where they were asking for even less than the 15, and they met her in the middle and agreed to push the building back to satisfy the neighbor, so.
That was 5 feet additionally back, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, so they satisfied her by moving the building back, so, other than that, there was no neighbor response.
Right, the only, but you're right in saying that. The only thing that happened is we originally presented the building to the ZBA showing that the building would be 10 foot off of Oxford Ave. The people complained about it, and then because of the meeting and everything, we agreed on moving it back to 15, which they did too.
Okay. But the only, correct me if I'm wrong, members, the only item that I'm seeing that is kind of something that might need a little bit further study would be the gravel in the back of the lot, as far as placing trucks there or driving trucks over it whenever there is a, is it a watershed protection area, or what's the protection
Yes,
area?
groundwater protection.
Groundwater protection.
So basically, what we can do is like, hypothetically, let's just say we don't want to pave the second half. We just make that like a no-touch zone, like we can't park any of our equipment there, right? But we can still get the special permit. We just couldn't put any equipment there, right?
Yeah, just based on the parking layout, if you don't have that space, I don't know where you're gonna put vehicles or equipment at. I mean, it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Because you're not parking anything inside the building, are you?
Storage area.
Yeah.
There is, so it's a garage drive-in.
Yeah. Six-space garage, I can probably get it inside.
Okay.
That's why we're doing the full sprinkler system.
Gravel parking
You know what I mean?
So I heard correctly about the sprinkler.
Yeah.
All right.
If you guys don't want to make it do it, then we don't have to put it in, but.
I was gonna recommend simply going to Graves Engineering and ask the question about, in this protection area, based on their knowledge, experience, et cetera, would a full paving of the lot be required if vehicular traffic is gonna be on it or not? They should be able to have the response back to us by our next meeting in 2 weeks. Depending on the plans, the board's pleasure, we could theoretically approve based on contingent, if. So that would be one way to go. Is the board in agreement with what I'm?
I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Are there any other items that we think might need to be reviewed by Graves, or?
Is there any outdoor storage of building materials?
No,
Okay,
a lot of plenty of room.
it'll all be stored inside?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of a dumpster enclosure are you
There's gonna be processed gravel, so they.
suggesting?
Parking on
Yeah, so they have processed gravel throughout the whole
that.
area back
So
here.
they, but
And
they
they have
have
dumpsters, so you have trucks parking.
You have a dumpster enclosure on the site, which is located on the southerly side of the building adjacent to School Street, School Court, which is on the plan.
I
which is
see it. What
on
kind of
sheet
material is
206. It's what?
What's it enclosed with?
It's just a concrete pad with a fence around it. That's
Like a
it.
chain link fence?
Right.
That's a good question.
No, we just show it. Right. That's what it
There's no
is.
legend, it just shows.
Right.
About just leaving packages.
There might be something we have to defer to the highway, the street department, or anything, but we definitely bring it up.
I know one thing I wanna, just, the backup plan is if you have to go into Oxford Ave, and I know you're like 90% positive that you're not gonna have to, my concern is if you have to trench into Oxford Ave, two lines, the water line and the sewer line, I would like to see, if you have to, I just wanna be on record, if you have to tie into Oxford Ave, I'd like to see from the beginning of one trench to the other, to the end of one trench, from the gutter line to the center line, milled and paved. I don't wanna leave any trenches on Oxford Ave.
Yeah, definitely,
So I just wanna be on the record, that if we have to go into Oxford Ave, that we're gonna mill from the beginning of one trench to the other, to the end of the other trench, no less than 15 feet, at a depth of 2 inches, from the gutter line to the center line. If we have to go into Oxford Ave, because it's a heavy traveled road and I don't want any more trenches in the road.
Just a quick question about the sprinkler system. Since there are vehicles in the building, are you guys doing ESFR?
so far,
Early response, fast release?
we're just doing a wet system.
Just a wet system? All right. Have you done a pressure test at all?
No, we haven't gotten that far. We
Okay.
haven't even got approval.
What the deal is the building code, if you have a garage, believe it or not, and it's in a mass amendment, you wouldn't find it in the 780 CMR without going to the amendment. And what it says is if you store your vehicles inside a building, you have to sprinkle a building if it's over 6,500 square feet.
The weird thing is, Nelson, remember it said if it's a mechanic shop and
You
you
don't
don't have
have to.
vehicles, you don't have to, which makes absolutely no sense to me because you're sitting there using a grinder, covered in oil and gas or whatever. So that's why I told you, if you guys don't want us to do a sprinkler system, we don't have to because that code is so
But
weird.
they can't give you anything.
Yeah,
You
that's
have to
you,
sprinkle.
that's you, yeah.
Don't even go there. And I think to answer your question, I think, the only thing I can think of is if it's a garage, they figure the vehicles are leaving after at night and not sitting there. So
Yeah,
they must
we
be
talked
worried
about
at night
that.
of them starting a fire.
Yeah,
We just went over that in Charlton on a project. It's not for, if, well, he's right, they assume the buildings are the vehicles will be gone, not
So
parked
employees are
overnight.
there the whole time if there's a fire. The whole code book's written in Latin anyways.
All right, so we're looking at for the acceptance of an A and R, correct?
No,
What are we looking for here?
revised plans.
First.
I think,
So there's no action the board needs to take right now. We
we're
have,
just going to continue the hearing
we're
and
going to continue the hearing. We have a
We
couple of
need-
comments that are on record here. We have Graves Engineering, their comments. So we'll assume that you guys will get back to us with the revised plan.
Well, big thing is the town get back to us regarding that paper street. I think basically, we could have had approval, pending, small minor things, but I think the big thing that's holding us up is this paper street, right? That's why we can't get approval today.
well, no, there are other comments from Graves that you need to
Exactly.
revise the plans.
Yeah, but I think probably the biggest one legally would be figuring out that paper street.
Yeah, if we can get some clarity on that, it would help,
Yeah,
sure.
I don't mind coming back to the town and doing whatever I have to do, but you guys work here, if you guys can coordinate whatever, just so when I come back, if you guys have answers for something.
You check with the town administrator?
Town
Yeah.
administrator or town selectmen, board of selectmen. It's
I'd
not this
reach
board.
out to the selectman's office.
We don't have control over selling you the paper road.
I know, but I don't have control over who to talk, I mean, I've done everything I can. I did.
Selectmen's on.
I mean, I've sent emails, I mean, like I said, our lawyer's working on it now.
I think a suggestion would be the town administrator, start with him and then
Yeah.
see where it falls after that.
He can take it to the selectmen.
But if you
Yeah.
guys wanna grease them up a little bit, let them know they're.
We have
I
no
wanna drive back and forth to town hall every single day, you know?
What about, Lou, what about that concrete apron you mentioned?
I'd like to
Is
see
that
the
something that,
concrete apron in the driveway.
so we'd like to see that in the revised plans, correct?
Right. So how do we wrap that all in? Have you captured all of that in the
No, I haven't.
Okay.
conclusions?
Was anybody taking notes?
Why don't you mention to the applicant what you're looking for?
In the revised plan, I'd also like to see the concrete apron for the sidewalk.
Yeah, just that entrance section.
Just to make sure the entrance, yeah, just for strength.
What do you want from concrete?
He's the engineer. Let him do what he wants. But it needs to be ADA compliant. Once you touch it, you own it. So it needs to be ADA compliant.
So that should be done on the revised plans.
That should be done on the revised plan.
And can we reach out to Graves Engineering regarding the gravel area?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we have
So
those
the
two
question,
items. And then,
so the question on the gravel is, should that be paved or not?
right,
Yeah.
because we're in the,
Because of the vehicle parking.
Because of the trucks?
Vehicles.
Yeah.
in the watershed protection area.
And then getting back to the issue about the road, if they're not able to get clarification on how to purchase it, can they get permission from the selectmen to pave it?
Right.
Get an easement?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would work, but I would think there's gonna be a
Would
way
have to
that they
be the town administrator, I think the town.
Yeah, I'll follow up with the town administrator
See
about
what-
that question.
It seems kind of crazy to hold these gentlemen up when they've got their checkbook open and looking to give the town some money for that.
Yeah, we were ready to build a while ago, but.
All right, so we're gonna
Continue.
basically reach out to the town administrator, just kind of let them know what's being looked at here. We're gonna ask Graves Engineering about the gravel, the one portion of it, if we might want that paved or not because of the watershed protection.
Honestly, we don't wanna run a tight space, I'm gonna try to convince them to just pave the whole thing, I mean, it probably makes the most sense or more of it.
If it's not required, it's not. If it is, it is. You guys can make a decision how you want to proceed. I just want to make sure that at least we get it in the order conditions of, what has to happen or what had not. And then the couple revisions that Graves is asking for, and then the concrete apron, and it's something we're good to go.
Perfect, so, when's the next meeting, 2 weeks from now?
2 weeks, yeah, this is the 22nd.
So, I don't know, but it's gonna be nice.
Should be. Now, do we need a public meeting? We don't need a public hearing again, right? We can just,
We're continuing the public hearing.
continue
So
it.
the public can still come and comment,
All right.
and we can still take
No, I
new
don't have-
new evidence and testimony.
So maybe questions that come up from the public.
Why don't we
about the
make
paper
this
road.
one at 7:15,
Okay?
and then make the other one later, because this one should be a lot shorter than the Lions
Okay,
Estates.
make the Lions Estates later?
Yep.
Okay. So continue to next meeting at 7:15?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Sound fair, guys? All right.
Okay, on the 22nd, what time would the meeting be?
7:15.
Okay,
Well, you'd be on at 7.
Yeah, the meeting starts at 7, but you guys will be on at 7:15,
okay,
plus or minus 30 seconds,
okay.
hopefully.
The 22nd or 27th?
It's like 2 weeks from
2-2.
tonight.
All right.
Good. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Show Bill something before you head.
Yep.
Take care, Bill. Good night.
All right, so we're going to discontinue the public hearing for continuance at our next meeting
Paper road now.
at 8:25 PM.
I agree, 10,000. It's a permitted use out there. You need a 100-foot
I'm
frontage,
getting burned out.
because it's a two-family, then it's pertains. And this doesn't pertain. Excessive.
Jeez, you're too young for that.
10,000, but his problem is he needs 100 foot.
Well, maybe, I
So
don't know.
You think he can get 6 units on?
Borderline,
Yeah, I think you're in that category.
you said half in the ground.
Well preserved for 47.
If he's got 6 units, he needs 600 feet. You guys gotta make that paper road a real road. He can't just say it's a paper road, that's my
You
friend.
guys should
Yeah, so
do one of
that's-
these when you're talking like that, get insider information.
How does he get enough frontage for that?
Right, 'cause he's got nothing
He only
right now.
needs 100 feet for a lot.
So he needs 600 feet.
No, he only needs 100. Doesn't
For
say-
one unit.
Doesn't say you need
Something was
100 feet per
grandfathered,
unit.
and you
It
changed
just says
the
100
use, it's
feet
no
per
longer
lot.
Right.
But he needs
I don't know if the use is being
land
changed.
area.
For that
Property
purpose.
assessment
Lumber
for
yard is lumber,
10,000.
vacant for a long
So
time.
every 10,000, he needs 100 feet. I'm different.
It's a change of
So
use.
he
Okay.
needs 600.
It depends, I don't
If
know
that's
about
where
the
you
zoning,
interpret it, then
but it's
okay.
zoned light
Okay.
industrial.
Okay.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I'm
Have
right.
sub-uses,
You know what? if I'm
that might be the
wrong,
governing
Yeah.
thing, is just light
I'm saying
industrial.
he's 600, but.
So it
but
depends, some
the
towns,
paper road don't count for frontage.
Right.
their bylaws
If-
get
if-
really
if he-
super
If you
complicated.
guys say, yeah,
You have
but you
construction
don't,
as a
like,
use, you could have,
and you don't
just, there's all kinds of
decide it's
sub-uses
like
there.
a subdivision or something.
might be
whatever
a
you guys gotta
question
do to
for
make that frontage, I'm
a
fine.
zoning board
If you
member
don't,
over
I'm
here.
giving him a permit.
That's a question for our zoning board
Do
member.
you want to mention that to the board?
Sure.
I think it'd be a good idea if the
Come
board.
on,
heard
sit
it.
down here, Nelson.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
We keep coming back to the issue of the 40 feet. Can I put a road in?
Can
That's
you
what-
put a road in?
Over a paper street?
I'm sorry, I missed half that, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
I missed half of what you said, so
Okay.
I'm kind of,
We have a 40-foot opening for the paper street of Spruce Street. Normally, you need 50 feet to put a road in. Can I do it 40 feet?
The board could grant a waiver for that. You know, if that's all you have and the board's so inclined.
How long is this 40 feet? How
The
long,
whole length of the street.
like footage-wise, roughly?
800 feet?
Okay.
so the 50-foot is usually the road plus for sidewalk, right? Is that all?
No, the sidewalk's included.
Included in the 50.
Sidewalks in the,
Yeah.
right. So by zipping down to 40, we're eliminating the sidewalk on both sides.
Oh, no, sidewalk on one side, because the
Right.
road's only 24 feet paved.
All right. My brain is fried, my math is bad
Oh,
right now.
Yeah.
You guys get paid too much to be here.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, what you're thinking now is, okay, if we grant a waiver and you put the road in, that's how you're gonna pick up the frontage.
Right.
That solves the problem as far as what we're
Nelson's
talking about.
problem, right.
Correct?
Yeah, he needs 600 feet for 6 units, 100 feet per unit. But a paper road is not frontage. You guys gotta make it a road.
Right, I gotta make it a road accepted by the town of Dudley.
Right, but where I'm going next with this is, doesn't that then create the problem where now you need to have a cul-de-sac at the end?
No, I got the T, the.
Yeah, but the T was when we weren't talking about this becoming an accepted road, correct?
Well, it's a dead-end street.
Well, it's really nothing now.
No, I understand it, but it will be a dead-end street. I mean, I don't have 100 feet to make a cul-de-sac.
Yeah. That was Plan 1 when you came here first time, and we said, well.
Right, you brought it up.
Yeah.
My concern is it's a paper road show and going all the way to Mill Street. And if he's only going in so far,
Well, there's a limit on dead-end streets, right? Was it 660 feet?
I forget, I'm not familiar with
Like
your
that, yeah.
I
subdivision
think you're
regs.
right, 600 feet.
So are we above that?
No.
Oh,
that's the other concern that,
Well, he asked how long Spruce Street was. It's 800 feet, but I don't have 200 feet of that.
right.
You had
What's
something
your-
to tell us, Mr. Burlingame? I thought you said you should tell the board.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just that I'm saying he needs 100-foot frontage for every unit. He's got 6 of them, so he needs 600 feet. But it's gotta be considered a road. You guys gotta give him whatever conditions you want, and I don't know if he's gonna accept it or not, and his fire truck and all that, but that's up to
I
them.
did bring it, Mr.
So how long's the road, proposed road, private road?
Per unit.
If it's a multifamily, it's 200, but these are there's an exception. It says two families only need 100, and they don't even add to it. They don't add square footage to it, which is surprising, but that's how it's read.
139, 252.
Okay.
Where's that?
But
map?
what is,
About 600 feet of road,
There's 600 feet of road?
yes.
does the frontage start where his property line is on here, or to the end of the road?
No, that's just an easement I have over the road. That's not mine. It
So
doesn't
you have
count as
600 from the edge of your property?
frontage. No, from Green Street.
Yeah,
So you
right.
asked how long the road is gonna be.
Which, that doesn't count until the edge of your property there?
No, my own property is gonna be like 400 feet. And 200 feet on the other
On
side.
the other side, yeah.
But,
Okay. So if the road, Conrad, if I just want to clarify, if the road from the beginning of the Green Street to the end is 600 feet?
no,
No?
to the end of my property. To the end of my property, not to the end of Mill Street.
No, to the end of the road that you propose?
Yes, yes.
But you can't use the common that's going to be used up front. So you
No, I know I
don't really
can't.
technically have 600 feet.
No, again, I was asked how long the street's gonna be. It's gonna be 600 feet.
It's gonna be
Of which I
600.
own 400 feet.
So you're gonna have enough frontage, you're gonna have 400 feet of frontage to apply towards the
Plus on the
rule
other
that he's-
side.
Yeah, it's on both sides of the road. So,
So if we grant the road, Mr.
Some of them
Burlingame,
units, some will go on one side, some will go on the other.
on the other side.
That's right. Now, I don't wanna argue with Mr. Burlingame, but it's 10,000, it's 10,000 square feet
Because you're gonna lose.
for the first two units, then 6,000 square feet for the additional.
Well, that's not true either, because if you read this carefully, because it's a two-family, you only need 100 feet. Otherwise, if it was a multifamily, you'd need 200 feet. That's all that
Okay,
says right
okay.
It's actually
I sit
better.
corrected.
If I may, going back to Green Street, now you have an easement here from the Batista family
Right.
apparently, and there's another property on the other side of that driveway. It was a situation that pertained to that. I think you had some difficulty in terms of getting an agreement from them, or
No, I didn't need it.
didn't need it. That's tight. I've driven by there, and they're in a whole lot of, and I mean, you're right into somebody's yard, either way, from what I could see.
Actually, you're not. I mean, it's, the full 40 feet is not exposed on Green Street. That's the problem. The multifamily on the left-hand side is using part of that street.
Okay. So, all right, so my perception of that has been,
Yeah,
it's
the Green
altered by the fact that they're using that, but they're not really, it's
Yeah.
really not theirs to use, is
If
what
you
you're
look at
saying.
Green Street's about 22 feet paved.
Okay, so it's not theirs to use.
Right.
All right.
Right. I mean, I got trucks and everything parked on my land.
Okay, because if you look at it from the roadway, it looks like
No,
there's
I
nothing
understand.
more than.
Looks like 25 feet.
Right, or less.
So
it
this
goes more
easement
to the
from,
right, right?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
It
ahead.
goes more to the right
More to the left as you face it.
as you're facing.
Yeah, you got
Building's
Batistas.
right there.
Sorry?
The building's right there,
Yeah, Batistas is right on the line.
yeah.
I mean, right on the line.
I know Mr. Perrin had a concern about safety with people pulling in there and that building being,
Tight.
There's plenty of room. I mean, we own property on Wellington Street. You got property that's 3 feet from the road with the fences and stuff. I mean, this is gonna be a lot more safer than Wellington Street or many of the streets in.
I got a question for the fire chief. Chief,
Chief.
have you checked, I'm sorry, have you checked out where he's proposing to put Spruce Street in?
Yeah, but
Can you get a fire truck in there?
What's the scale of this thing?
with the turnaround thing, and we have, with that thing he was gonna put in, but my question to you guys is, if you make it a public street, then all the rules change, don't they? Everything changes.
Well, he's looking to make it a private
I'm making
way.
it, no, public street. Nelson says I gotta have frontage on a public street.
Yeah,
You have
but
to, on an access roadway, and it can't be a paper road, that's what I'm saying.
I think
It
what,
could be, I think it could be a private street, but again, you guys should be asking town council some of these questions.
Well, I was here last October. I thought they
I
were
thought so,
going to do
I thought
that.
that's what we did ask the town.
Oh.
All you say to the applicant,
we weren't-
show me where it says you can do that. You can put it on him, because I know our TA does not want to pay our town council to answer his questions. He feels he should
No,
come
it's
here
not,
with the answers.
it's not my question, it's
I
theirs.
believe that was in an email, wasn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Not one I got.
yes. It was floating around somewhere.
So,
No, our
you're
town-
talking about the town,
Administrator.
yeah, he said, he thought I was asking the question. I'm not asking the question, you guys are. If I can build on a paper street.
If I understand the chief's concerns correctly, I think what he's concerned about is that if we go with saying, okay, let you do a 600-foot public road so you can get your frontage, but it just dead ends, now the T or turnaround area that he was gonna get for his fire truck is no longer there.
Why not?
Well, if you put the T in, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's gonna take up some of that, you're gonna lose some frontage there.
I can put the T on the extension of the 600 feet.
We got a fire truck down there, we've done it before, that's what we were talking about when you were trying to get my attention, but I've seen all these roads, we've sat through all these meetings, these selectmen's meetings over the years about unapproved roads. I mean, it's not that easy of a task to get a road approved with all the drainage requirements and everything as a public street, so, I mean, you people know better than I do, but, I mean,
Oh, you'd be surprised.
We've never dealt with this as a public street. The thought was not to make this a public street, as I understood it. It was not your original intent.
It was not my original intent,
Right.
that's right, but.
So on
but-
that question, I don't think has ever gone to the town
Well, it's
administrator or
still,
to
can
the
I build
council.
over the 40-foot?
Please?
That's always been the question, can I build over a 40-foot paper street?
Well, the question was the paper street and the ownership of, but now we're talking about something, I think it's entirely different in terms of a public
Well,
road.
because of what Mr. Burlingame said, that I need
Right,
100
but
feet on
that
a public
question in
road.
regards to a public road has never gone to town council.
well, it's not.
It has, that question didn't surface until this meeting.
No, it's, well, okay. I mean, it was always, can I use the 40 feet to access this property?
Okay, well, the
Yeah,
terminology, public road.
I think
has
what
never
I'm
been
hearing
used.
is that there's a difference between 40 feet in a public way and 40 feet in a private way. There's a difference there.
Well, he's saying I can't build on a private way.
I'm saying, my opinion is, and opinion can be wrong, I'm not town council or a lawyer or your lawyer or anybody else's lawyer. In the past, in things I've seen on a paper road, you couldn't use that as frontage, and you need frontage, that's what I'm saying. Now, with a private road and a public road, I'm not sure. I guess either you ask him to show you that it can be done, or you ask town council, but I know our TA doesn't want to spend the town's money for town council when he needs to show you what he can do and can't do. Now, which philosophy is right, I don't know, but.
Again, based upon what you said tonight, I want a public road. So the question becomes, can I do it with 40 feet? Can I get that exception?
The chief has a,
Sorry, through the chair, isn't that the town bylaws you got right in front
Yeah.
of you? The zoning bylaw?
Yeah.
Well, that's not even Nelson telling you that, that's the town of
Well,
Dudley bylaws.
But Chief, if you look at Dudley Heights, there's no 200 feet for each
Well, like
unit.
he said earlier, just because things have been done wrong in the past, doesn't mean you continue to.
Well, I think what we need here is that we need a plan from the applicant that works and is in
Right,
accordance
right.
with the bylaws and everything else. And we don't have that right now.
No, you
We're
don't.
talking about a bunch of ideas that are difficult to conceptualize and to,
I have no
Find out-
problem, I have no problem having the engineer draw up all the plans, but to do that and you say I can't use 40 feet is an exercise in fertility.
Well, let
Well-
me say this, we got a subdivision control law, I mean, it's in the books. That's what somebody should be reading. This isn't under the purview of the building inspector. I'm zoning officer, building inspector. I'm not expected to know a subdivision control law.
No, not at
If
all.
you want to build a road, you should be reading it. You, your lawyer, or your engineer should be coming here, sitting here, and saying, look, here's the rules, here's what I'm
I haven't
doing.
been here for the
Here's
last 4
how
meetings,
these,
Nelson.
here's
You
how they
have not
follow
been
the
here
rules.
for the last 4 meetings. It all depends upon a 40-foot paper street. That's what I've been asking.
I don't think they should have to give you an answer, whether it's right or wrong. I think you should come in with your engineer and say, I'm allowed to build this because,
I
but
am
that's
not
my
allo-
opinion.
I'm not allowed to build. I'm looking for the exception.
Well, I think, what would be helpful is if we had a preliminary plan under
Correct.
the subdivision regulations,
right.
and then it would show the right-of-way of 40 feet, and the board could consider whether it would waive
the right-of-way standard of 50 feet for this particular
Right,
project.
so we're not looking for a whole set of plans, but we're looking for a conceptual plan conceived by an engineer who's
Yep.
gone through our subdivision bylaws and everything else, and tells us what he wants to do and why he wants to do it, and then we can address it at that point. But right now, I mean,
Okay, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I-
And that way the chief can see what it's gonna look like at the end, make sure that
Well, the conceptual plan was drawn by an engineer.
this,
Yes. Jason Dubois.
well, when I say
The
conceptual
engineering.
plan, that's what,
Yeah, that's what he drew.
to me, that's a sketch. To me, that's just a sketch. We start talking about conceptual or the schematic drawings, you're talking about a 30% complete plan.
You should have a copy of this. That's the first one I submitted to you.
That's the first one was submitted. At that time, we talked about a public way. Now we're talking about a.
No, it's still a public way.
Private way.
Did that first one have a?
you flipped it, Dan, I know what you meant, though.
Like
Dan was
those-
saying at the time when you submitted that, we were talking about a private way.
Now we're
Now we're talking about a public
different.
way.
The game has changed.
Okay, I'll get the engineer to work. I mean, all I was trying to find out is can I build on 40-foot?
The engineer should know.
No, it's, the bylaws, as Nelson has stated, it says 50 feet. But there have been exceptions, I see them all over town.
Our acting town planner says we can,
You can
Grant
get
a waiver.
waivers though, but he needs to list all his waivers.
Correct.
No, it's- I have put in 7 subdivisions, Nelson, so I'm fairly familiar with it.
we understand what you're trying to do, and just from our point, our perspective.
Oh, sure.
You know, we're just saying that we want to see something more substantial planning-wise than this before we would consider.
Listen, I have, it's $20,000 to get the set of plans. I was just trying to find out if I was gonna have a shot at getting it approved,
Yeah,
because
I
it's
don't
only
think
40 feet.
I think the
Preliminary
20,000 would be if
cost.
we started getting into permit drawings or construction drawings.
Right.
I think that if you're getting into a set of plans that are 20, 30%, but that you have that concept / the schematic right there, I'm hoping that we'd be talking more in the 5 range.
I would think so, yeah.
May I approach?
Of course.
After I gave you that plan, you asked the same question, and I went and had the engineer draw this. And I'm pretty sure I submitted it in October.
Yeah, but this shows the road going all the way through.
No,
Well,
it doesn't. No, it
See,
doesn't.
there's a T that
There's
we're
a
talking
T
about
right
here.
there.
There's a T we're talking about.
Oh, okay, this is the driveway?
That's just, yeah, it's a driveway.
Okay.
There's 2 houses up there.
That T is enough for a fire truck to turn around? in?
Yes.
I don't think I could turn a fire truck.
Don't forget, you're coming up a 24-foot street.
Yeah, I know.
You want more than this? Because you had asked for this before.
I don't recall ever seeing that.
This shows this shows sidewalks on both sides.
Shows what?
Isn't this showing sidewalks on both sides? How are you fitting that in there with, if you only got 40 feet and you got
It looks like there's a sidewalk there, there's a sidewalk there.
I might have done
There's no
that,
strip.
he might have done that because the sidewalks required on both sides and Dudley, we
Yeah,
just
that's
went
right,
over that.
it is required.
But usually
Once you-
between the street and the sidewalk, you have a little bit of green area that's not here. So these are the kind of things that we just need an engineer to kind of iron out.
Okay, so what else besides this do you
You
need?
need a, say you need that turnaround, and that makes 2 less houses. Well, then he has to set.
What's the waivers, right?
Clarity on the
You
public.
want to, can you ask that
private
question a little bit better than I can
What's
about
that?
what we're looking for here?
Well, we have requirements for a preliminary plan, which you need to conform to.
Thank you.
So it's got to show lot lines, it's got to show road layouts.
Okay, other than this,
Why can't he do 50 feet?
I got the road, well, it's only 40-foot wide.
I don't think it's because of.
You know, there's probably wetland identification that would need to take place,
There are no wetlands.
stormwater management, perhaps, at least a little bit,
On the perimeter?
He could make the road open up to
Well,
50 once he gets
I'd have
past
to
the
look at the
neighbor's houses.
requirements.
That would be kind
to
of,
say for sure.
I don't know. Or sidewalks on both
yes.
sides of the road once he
I think
gets
they are.
past the neighbors.
You know, we need probably a larger
Before he drew that
scale.
up, does that plan, did he look at the town's subdivision bylaws?
That's when he kept asking
Are you-
the question about
I haven't even seen that, Conrad, can I
Are
see
you,
it?
water and sewer services, perhaps?
This is the
At
first
least
time I've seen
conceptually.
it. Have you seen this yet?
Well, I can't,
This is-
why-
this
That was back, it was dated September. I vaguely remember, it's just been a while.
After the sidewalk is 33 feet wide. With 24 feet.
24 feet wide, which is,
That's, yeah, that, and 50 foot, yeah, that's right.
from curb to curb is 24 feet.
Right.
Sometimes the towns will allow, if it's a private way, 22.
I know that, yeah. So I will,
I don't think it's in your best interest to make it a public road.
well, I can't do it according to Nelson.
Private. I don't think he said that. I don't
Yeah,
think
he
that's what
did.
he said.
The whole thing probably figured it out, but I don't think.
Nelson, can we get clarification? I'm sorry, let me interrupt you. You're saying that the bylaws say that we need to have 100 feet on a public road?
On a right-of-way,
On a right-of-way?
you can
Well,
find right-of-way.
If we're talking of
I
subdivision.
mean, access.
Right, it has to be either a subdivision road or a public way.
What's the difference?
Well, subdivision road isn't public yet. It's just been approved by the planning board.
Because you guys just did that recently on Tobin Farms, for that people with the two houses. You
Right,
gave 'em-
right,
You gave
right.
them a roadway.
Right,
Which is a.
more like a
which is
paper street.
Shared common driveway.
Right.
That's all that was.
But it was really a roadway.
So,
I think the big question is, what's the definition of a paper road versus a private road?
I'm pretty sure a paper road doesn't count for frontage.
So
Pretty sure of that.
we're talking a subdivision, and that would give you.
we are
frontage.
now.
Yes.
Okay, I will get the engineer to work on it. I'll talk with him tomorrow and.
I mean, also the attorney too. We gotta get some clarification if
I
that.
said that last October. Nobody's gone to the town administrator. Believe me.
I
All right,
think before they go to the town council, and I don't mean to say waste the town's money, but I know Jonathan doesn't want to waste the town's money, which is a good thing. You need to say exactly what you want, exactly what you're looking for, and how you're looking for, and what you're calling the term, to see if, because what are you gonna ask town council? I mean, why should he do the work of
Exactly.
finding out, do you want this, or this? You should know what you
No,
want.
no, that's,
Yeah, I think we're spinning our wheels. We've been over this about 5 times so far.
yeah.
So I'd like to kind of nip it in the bud a little bit. I think what we're looking for then is a preliminary plan based on what we're asking for as a preliminary plan, and once we have that, we can review / get council comments and go from there.
Perfect.
All right?
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks, Nelson. Thanks, Chief.
So, if memory serves me right, we were at the end of our agenda items. Is there anything that anybody wants to add, other than motion for adjournment?
I'd like to move that we adjourn.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion, then a second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. See you.